Welcome to Below the Headline.
The political podcast that looks past the noise.
I'm your host Alicia, and I'm joined today by Ellie, Benny and Adam. So today we're going to be talking about Iran, Trump, what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. And so who would like to get this conversation started?
What's the only difference between Vietnam and Iran? Don't say what's the difference. Okay, the only difference is that Trump could get out of fighting in Vietnam, but he can't get out of fighting in Iran. I think it's become an obvious quagmire for the US. I think the interesting thing about the conflict is Trump and the administration as a whole absolutely cannot understand Iran and their regime. I think what they've done by killing the Ayatollah and much of the much of the kind of head of the snake of the Iranian regime. What Trump has done by cutting off much of the head of the Iranian revolution is that they've made an enemy that literally will not back down. There's nothing they can threaten these people with. I mean, they've already shown they've endured, 20 years of economic sanctions. I mean, the blockade is going to do absolutely nothing. It's kind of a child's argument, isn't it? I'm going to blockade you. No, I'm going to blockade you. The settlement under Obama, where they received economic relief in return for halting all nuclear research and production, that worked. I mean, that literally, we have empirical evidence that suggests that after that settlement, they stopped producing the means of making nuclear weapons or researching nuclear weapons because that economic relief mattered so much to them. And that's what Trump doesn't get, is there's got to be a carrot and a stick. There's got to be, we're going to beat the shit out of you if you don't comply. But also, here's lots of things we can give you, like economic sanction relief. And then obviously Trump tore up that agreement when he became president in 2016. So, and now we're fighting a war over it. Isn't that great?
So yeah, Benny, I agree with what you're saying there. But also, I believe that Trump doesn't have much of a vision on most things. I mean, he does things so recklessly and without much thought behind them. I mean, look at, Ukraine. So he's trying to pull out the funding from Ukraine, and Europe's beginning to feel the pressure from Trump moving away. Europe's so reliant on America for, say, military defence and even the financial sectors. And I believe that if Europe does want to pull out from America's clutches, it's going to be very, very difficult, and it's going to take a very long time. I believe that Europe's just become far too reliant on America. Take, for example, a few days ago when he was attacking Merz. So he's gone from attacking Keir Starmer, saying that he's a disgusting prime minister, to attacking Merz. And now he's taken, a few thousand soldiers out of Germany. So this isn't just weakening Europe's position, because it's telling Russia that the US isn't going to be behind Europe if Russia attacks, but it's also weakening the US's position, because it's saying, oh, well, we don't have this defence around the world now. So, Adam, what do you think about this?
I think it shows a lot of Trump's ignorance for his NATO allies. With, in pulling out of Germany, it's just a bit of a strop, really, isn't it? And he's not taking into account that his missile bases, his military bases, and everything he has in Europe and in British islands, French islands, everywhere all over the world, he's going to lose them if he keeps going the way he's going.
Yeah, he's basically saying, if you insult me, then you're going to pay a price. And that price is the price of feeling secure in Europe. Now, do you think that this is in any way strategic, or do you think that it's like an insecure, egotistical child throwing a tantrum? What do you think of this, Ellie?
I think you're completely right, but I think that this is ingrained in American political culture. I feel like we can really see this childish behaviour in the 2024 election. I know this has nothing to do with it, what we're talking about now, but politics over in America is completely different to England. They don't really value, especially they don't really value the political opinions of people, and even if they do, they take on some
Can I challenge you on that, Ellie?
Yeah, go on.
So do you not believe it's the same in the UK with, say, Nigel Farage? I mean, nobody's really looking to his policies. They're just looking to this big branded image of, I hate immigrants.
No, I completely agree. I feel like politics has just become has just completely become a culture thing. I've talked to many people about reform and stuff, and I don't think that they're actually believing in believing in the actual politics of it, but rather it's a cultural thing with family, with friends, with what it represents. Because I knew somebody, not going to name names, but they are in the school. No, but actually quite a few people in the school where like they are proud to be a Tory of what it represents. Because I saw somebody like reposted something about how like the aesthetic of being a Tory. And I think that's terrible. Like it's about politics.
Yeah, you know, shooting, going hunting with your friends.
This is what I'm talking about. Like
tweed jackets.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the tweed jacket.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just
it's just
it has
very like
nothing to do with
stereotypical.
Davey wore a barber in his manifesto video.
I think what you said about voters not really believing necessarily in the causes they're voting for, it's a really interesting point, Ellie. I think it represents a larger... I mean, obviously, politicians have always been cynical in that way of, you know, bending to the electorates to get votes. Politicians have always been populist, essentially, because, you know, you need to win
democracy.
you need to win the popular vote. But Donald Trump doesn't believe in anything, save the enrichment of himself and his family. And I know it sounds like a bit of a, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's genuinely true. And I think the most interesting way that manifests is in his total, he just cannot understand zealots who believe in things fervently, like the Iranians. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, for all their faults, and I mean, obviously they're absolutely horrendous, but they truly believe in their cause. You know, obviously it's a horrible cause, but Trump just cannot understand that. He cannot understand that they will fight and die to the last for this vision of a kind of Islamic utopia.
Yeah, but I bet that the people in his government, or at least some with common sense, would have been telling him this, and he just would not be taking account of it, because he's got this kind of superiority, kind of hero complex, where he wants to save the world and he wants to be remembered for thousands of years, and attacking Iran and destroying a disgusting regime is his way of achieving it. But I assure you, people would have been warning him against this. I mean, the whole of his government isn't that stupid. This is you know, the number one economy in the world.
That's the fundamental difference between Trump number one and Trump number two. Look at the people he's got around him now. I mean, Vance, Besant. I can't think. Besant is amazing. Have you all heard the amazing? All their incredibly Catholic speeches, Christian speeches about, you know, the sword of God destroying the Iranians, you know, leaving a barren wasteland behind.
Until they asked Trump to quote a Bible verse.
But yeah, one of them quoted Isaiah, you know, the one from Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Like Isaiah, one of them quoted that genuinely
Yep.
as that's so embarrassing. But what I'm saying is the people around him are not telling him this stuff. They are his yes men, and that is their one and only job. Everything Vance has from Trump. He's not giving that up. I mean, it's been shown in how quickly he's twisted from his position, which was fervently isolationist and anti-war, to now being very, very quiet about the intervention in Iran.
I think that quite a few people did warn him, though. I mean, for example, like Mike Pompeo and Christopher Miller and Mark Milley all warned that strikes could trigger a more broader regional war, and Trump ultimately did not proceed.
I've never heard of any of these people before, and I think that generally shows.
Well, of course, it shows that he's surrounding he's surrounding himself with people that, you know, comply with what he's saying. But there are people in the U.S. government that do not believe that this is a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
And of course he's gone against it.
I'm sure none of the people closest to him thought it was a good idea. But yeah, I mean, that's the US administration. I mean, the Republican Party, for all their talk of isolationism before, they have not done anything. I mean, if there were ever a grounds for impeachment, I think the war in Iran has surely demonstrated.
I mean, even Venezuela, come on now.
No, Venezuela was, I mean, what they wanted to do in Iran.
Sorry.
It was quick, it was
kidnapping a president and then taking over the country and taking over the oil supply. Is that not a reason to impeach him?
I mean, no, presidents have done worse. Previous presidents have done worse.
Such as? I know, of course, Iraq and Afghanistan and all this, but could you give like a solid, similar situation?
To what?
I suppose the Bay of Pigs is a good example. The Bay of Pigs is much worse. There have been insane, audacious military operations like this before. And,
But
And ones we don't know about yet.
But
Yeah.
is the difference between Trump and the previous administrations not that he's doing it so much more swiftly than the others? I mean, he's moving at such a fast pace, especially when it comes to immigration.
I mean, just look at like post 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
Like they invaded Afghanistan within a year. I think was it? I think it was in 2001.
And that was a full-scale invasion, not
That was
just
a
a handful of
full-scale
strikes.
invasion.
Also with basically no support.
Yeah.
in the
So
area.
is this Iran war showing how weak the US is because it can't simply invade a country anymore and try to take over it? I mean, say 20 years in Afghanistan, I know that there wasn't much progress, but at least they were actually invading instead of simply striking them.
I mean, Vietnam, the war that Trump dodged, showed that. Sorry, Adam. Yeah,
I think it just shows they're a bit short, not necessarily not powerful, but short-sighted. Like they've entered a war with no clear way of exit because they didn't know, and it hasn't, that killing the Ayatollah would end the government because they just replace it with the next closest guy.
Absolutely. And
But
in fact, it's actually made Iran a lot closer together now because people have actually rised against a foreign power instead of their own regime.
Okay, there's a cliche that you always hear about, learning. Why do we study history? The reason we study history is to learn from history.
Yeah, not to repeat it, of
Yeah.
course, but
People
people don't always learn.
Usually that's such a bad line. Usually I'm like, oh, that's stupid. Why would anyone ever study history for that? Why would they go into Iran? Why would they go into Iran? I mean, there's literally a parallel example of this, I think, in Yemen. Yemen, they tried to change a regime by blowing it into the ground and just leveling the whole of Yemen, and now it's one of the most authoritarian regimes in the world.
And they're still in civil war.
And they're still in the civil war. It's just like... It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But I suppose as the world's current only superpower, it's hard to kind of restrain yourself. Trump, it's just a field day. It's just fun, isn't it? It's like it's like someone getting bored of a game. Like, what can I do to spice this up? I know.
Yeah,
go
let's
and-
invade a country.
Well,
let's
yeah,
disrupt
go
the
and
world
just
order.
level
I mean, sure.
the fireplace.
I don't think there's a single thought behind it. Well, there must be, but like, there's no room.
There is a thought.
It's on complete impulse, though. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no logical reasoning behind it. I mean, you'd expect a president to be the top of his game, so intelligent and well thought through. And yet,
Intelligent.
this-
Oh, that's funny.
Like,
no. Sorry,
Like
at the
Clinton.
level of like president or prime minister. I mean, no matter their politics, I mean, they're going to have quite a bit of intelligence.
Yeah, but I don't think
When
Donald Trump has.
No, definitely. No, this is my point, Eleanor. No, but my point is that he just doesn't show any of these great qualities that maybe previous presidents, no matter how corrupt, have had.
Is that why you think he uses like bullying, being louder than everybody else?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
every president has used. I just think the thing about Trump is in the way he speaks, in the way he talks, in the way he communicates with voters, he is extraordinary. He's like no president that's come before him.
Hitler
But-
style.
But in what he actually does, if you look at his actual actions, it's fairly standard for a president. I mean, aside from, obviously, protectionism, that massive sudden break with previous kind of globalist strategy, that's pretty irregular. That's pretty extraordinary.
It has happened before, though.
Yeah, but it has happened before. That's, I'd say, the most extraordinary thing he's done.
Like,
Aside from that, he threatens to invade Greenland, he threatens to invade Panama, he threatens to break up NATO, he threatens to support Russia. But in what he actually does, he's fairly
But in those,
docile.
just simply in those threats, though, Benny, he's destabilising the global order.
Yeah, absolutely. don't get me wrong.
Yeah, especially NATO. I mean, it's an interesting point to go on to NATO. So America obviously puts so much money into NATO, and so if Russia were to attack Europe, and America was to say, well, no, we're not conforming to Article 5, what would Europe actually do? I mean, would they go into a full-scale war with Russia?
We'd go into a full-scale war with Russia and we'd win a full-scale war with Russia.
Do you think so?
Yes, I absolutely.
Have we seen Ukraine? There's a random country full of wheat farmers are currently holding back a whole.
In fact, no, I don't know about that because I think that there's some kind of parallel between America and Iran not giving up the fight, and then Ukraine and Russia. You know, Russia, they have millions of people that they can just push to the front, and I don't know if they're going to be giving up very easily.
Given them as outdated military equipment, the US as well. So you know, everyone always says, oh, we've given, you know, 50 billion to Ukraine, but what we've actually given is weapons that we were going to scrap anyway, like Bradleys, which you've seen those Bradleys murdering that T-80.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
beautiful.
4 years ago now.
We're giving them loads of CRVTs as well, like the Scimitar. Loads of things like that, which we're going to replace, but can still be used in Ukraine. I mean, sorry.
Another thing is missiles, like the HIMARS America given them.
Storm Shadow.
Like long-range missile systems. These would have either been used in training or just disposed of because they go out of date, essentially.
Yeah. So, but sorry. Your point was Ukraine is holding off Russia because of this kind of idealistic struggle. Because of this.
No, I was thinking the other way around. Russia is holding off Ukraine in a sense. My point was that Russia's pushing so hard at Ukraine, and they won't stop pushing until they get what they want, which is either land, you know, territory, or they reach an agreement, or they win the war. And so I don't think that they're just going to give up to a promised agreement, which is what Trump tried to bring forward, which Ukrainians obviously declined. I just don't think that they're going to be giving up very easily.
I think Russia could give up. The problem is that Vladimir Putin cannot. Vladimir Putin is actually, that's a very good point. Vladimir Putin is like the Iranian regime. He's like a kind of badger backed into a corner. There's no way out except through the Ukrainians or through the US. Yeah, that's a really good point. So if Vladimir Putin, this is why I was so hopeful for Prigozhin. I know it sounds stupid, but Prigozhin, because it would have generated so much instability in Russia if it actually managed to follow through.
Terrible accident, wasn't it?
Oh, terrible. That plane crash, who could have seen it coming?
Who could have seen
Deary,
it coming?
deary me. But how did he not see that coming as well? I don't understand. But anyway, there must have been something going on behind the scenes there. I always thought it was a kind of, Vladimir Putin, the thing he always does is he organizes these little insurrections. The reason he let the leader of the opposition run free for so long is because they gather up support and people put themselves behind them. And one of Vladimir Putin's staple tactics is he lets these figures of opposition run free for a while, obviously under control. You know, they can be destroyed at any moment. And then, you know, his oligarchs, or, you know, some of them, it's a way to test, you know, some people put their support behind them. Some people, like, so Russians, lots of Russians put their support behind the leader of the opposition. And then when you kill these people, or, you know, have them moved aside or put in prison.
Yeah, they just disappear,
Yeah, and then you destroy hope, and you also see who's against you, who you need to move against next. I don't know if that's, I think it's silly to try and attribute too much intelligence to Vladimir Putin.
He's so incredibly intelligent.
I don't know if necessarily he's intelligent. I think the people around him, like it's like Boris Johnson and his advisor Clegg. You know, you intuit intelligence on the main person, but generally they're the face. I think Vladimir Putin is in many ways the face.
So yeah, that's a really good point. But I just wanted to touch on, I think that, of course, I don't know how much thought is behind Trump, but he's humongously underestimated Vladimir Putin's ability, especially in negotiation. I mean, when he was trying to negotiate peace in Ukraine, it was just humiliating for the US.
To try and, so a lot of people are saying he's pivoting away from Europe towards Russia. He's pivoting away from Europe towards fighting against China, towards the Pacific, fighting against China. I think to intuit any strategy onto Trump is foolish, because he's a political animal. He's not a governor. He's not a statesman. He is a campaigner, first and foremost, and he's still in that campaigning mindset. He's still in that, how can I win the headline? Any publicity is good publicity. How can I just don't, I'm trying to, I genuinely cannot understand him. No one can understand him, because he is...
And so unpredictable.
He's vapid. He's nothing. Not to be rude to the great man, of course, but there is no strategy. There is no ghost in the machine. It's just talk. He is hot air. He's like a fucking cloud.
Yeah, that was very well put. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see
Thank
you
you
next
too.
episode.